Good morning. It's so, I'm sure as you probably all feel the same, great to see faces. You are in such an amazing office with such great support. So I say this from the bottom of my heart, feel really blessed because I'm out seeing people. There's not a lot of people out, not a lot of offices are having the courage and the strength and the smarts to kind of open up. Not smarts, I don't want to be
smart.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I'm trying to tread a little on my own political views here. So I am really, really honored to be here. And one thing that I've really seen is that think outside the box right now. It's really, really important as far as the motivation and the stress, you know, even kids, my daughter-in-law had said that, you know, like last month, my 9-year-old grandson kind of started developing a little bit of a twitch, you know, and I thought, well, see, it shows. He's better now that either swimming, it's hot, so now he's outdoors before, but you know, before that, it was kind of locked in. So at every age, even if we're not knowing that we're having some of those anxieties, it's there. So whatever you can do, especially as agents, to connect with each other, you know, doing those check-on calls, get into the offices face-to-face, and thinking outside the box with social media. I am not a social media person. It's just never been my thing, but it's taught me to be outside my comfort zone and learn that, okay, we've just got to readapt a little bit. So any type of different social media outside the box, go for it. Get outside your comfort zone. If you're like me and not a technology person, get that grandson or kid or somebody in the family that's just their thing, because for them it's just natural, and for me it's never been so natural. But I'm learning and I'm trying to adapt. Couple of things that are new. I don't know if you've noticed, if you have, any of you were on the Gov Hutchins update. I know most of you have probably been trying to get on them whenever you can, and Fresno has their meetings. If you're not zooming in on those, they've had some really great information, not to plug Fresno Association, but they really have had some great information on their offices. Gov Hutchins update was the TDS. They do have a couple changes to that. Nothing real major, just on your section 1, if there's a form that you have to make sure that you check, a box you check on section 1. So on your TDS, make sure section 1, we used to not have to fill out that. We would say see attached. Section 1 on your TDS now has to be filled out. Check the box. Right? Don't put see attached. That's not gonna work anymore. So for the NHD, there's a couple of things on all your forms, especially now with the PEDS and all these forms you've got coming out. There's still 2 that are legally required. They either get you into property and all of those things and helps protect you against, you know, all the COVID things that are going on right now. But remember, the 2 forms that keep you protected in lawsuits are the TDS and the NHD. Now remember, all NHD companies are not the same. So you want someone that's been around for at least 10 years that has the backing and the resources to make sure you've got the right information. One thing kind of newer on the NHD is the fire. They're really starting to kind of push that. And with summer coming along, start looking for the word home hardening. Okay, and even Gov brought this up the other day, and I was like, oh, I know that word. So home hardening. So if you're in a fire area, they're going to require the seller to basically home harden their property. So which means if you have a shingle roof, that can become an issue. If you have brush around your property, that can become an issue. So just start educating your sellers on home hardening. And that's basically for fire, and that's just going to protect them.
Home hardening, what is that? Is that like replace the roof, or
it can.
To have it fire safe.
Yep.
That's like doing the fire break.
Yes.
Okay, so that's called
home hardening. Okay. So you'll start seeing that. Yeah, you'll start to see that word come up more and more. So just know that that's what that means. Yes, sir.
Would it be okay to put a sprinkler system up on the peak of the house? Would that help things?
Pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's gonna depend on probably the property and on the insurance and the inspector. So I wouldn't be able to kind of out of my scope.
As far as fire insurance goes, that very difficult.
Fire insurance has been a challenge
Are
ever
there
since the last couple of
some
years
noted companies that,
that we would recommend, or
yeah, or that
Yeah.
you know of?
not really. You want to check inside your industry on whoever's worked with somebody. I know people have gone out of state even to try to get fire insurance.
'Cause
So
I had a friend, she's a realtor up in Northern California, and she was
No.
asking me about that.
Mhm.
So I'll find out.
Yeah. You can just kind of research and see who, it's like a certain lender or certain title, somebody that you've got some good history with. Check around and see who has a
I'm
little.
really done with that.
Yes.
Like, I realize that houses that are in like the mountains that are around trees and things like that, that's definitely a hot fire hazard and a high fire hazard.
Yes.
But like, like grasslands, like Rivera ranches and things like that. I mean, I know it's not considered it, but man, there sure is a lot of fires out there, right?
And it may, and the one thing with that, with those change on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis,
Everybody's getting more sensitive.
yes,
right?
absolutely. Yep. And that's why the new fire has come out. So, and we've
Well,
always
I
had
think
that
that
in our
goes down to
reports.
the repair plan on
Really
that.
important.
Response to that, Santa Rosa was a town that burnt. Wildfire got loose, got into town and burnt Santa Rosa. The ranches can't go up.
Yeah.
None of that. What the underwriters are looking at on this fire insurance, I've heard, is they're going to Google Maps or Google Earth and getting an aerial photograph. If they see too much foliage,
Yeah.
they just walk away from the area.
Well, that's where the home hardening, that's where
They
it
don't care
starts
what
to
you've
look.
done, they don't care what you've done to protect yourself, they just don't care.
They won't even,
They
yeah.
just walk.
So we all got to move to Barstow?
Yeah, goodness. I mean,
Nyland's
Barstow's
worked
been
the
on
other day.
fire, yeah.
Down there in Imperial Valley.
A couple years ago, it was pretty bad down there. So keep in mind, again, go back to your basics, even though you're doing all these other things with the COVID, you're taking all the extra precautions, which yes, absolutely, do what you need to do, but don't forget the basics. And sometimes that's easy to do when we've got all these other new things constantly coming out. We forget those basic forms. The two basic forms are going to be the TDS. Make sure your seller fills it out completely. They don't miss anything because there's time of disclosure. Well, you can say, when did you find out about that? So there's really a fine line in between that. They say, well, I didn't know about it for so many years. It doesn't really release some of that liability. So just let them know. Disclose all known facts about the property. It's going to affect the value or desirability. And that's a tricky word. We've talked about this before, but value and desirability are not necessarily the foundation of a property. They could be the barking dog next door. So you go graveyards. All those little things can protect you from a lawsuit. Same with the NHD. Now remember, natural hazard disclosure, especially get those offers in. You want to get your paperwork done, but the natural hazard disclosure is just one of those things that's like, title and escrow will order it. A natural hazard disclosure report must be available to any prospective buyer. So if you are the listing agent, that needs to be available. Even if when we go back to open houses, which we will soon, you should have that available at your open house. Put it in your portfolio. You're going to give the client or potential client so much more information about that property ahead of time. I know people get afraid of doing that, but all it does is save you time and money. Because if that buyer is not perfect for that home, we want to find out in day 1 and not day 30 when we're into contract and something on the property shows up. So if you're the listing agent, natural hazard disclosure report must be given to any prospective buyer. Okay, that's not just an agreement, that's in the civil code, that's the law, right? So make sure that you get that information. When you order it, please, if your TCs aren't ordering it, order it direct. Do not have title or escrow order your natural hazard disclosure reports. Okay, that puts you at risk for time of disclosure. They can cancel at the end. We don't want that to happen. So get it at the very beginning. Chris, have any questions on your natural hazard disclosure reports on when to order them, how to order them? Yes, ma'am.
Not a question, I just want to give you a boost. We can actually order property ID right in SkySlope and we get it very quickly.
Oh, good. Awesome. Yeah, we weren't in SkySlope for the longest time.
I always email
Sammy?
Sammy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sammy is our customer service director. She takes care of you guys. She's been in house for 20 years. And all you do is send her a quick email. And if you don't, you can email me, text me, call. It's a lot. Sometimes it's easier than going online and having to do it. Just send a quick email, the address, and they'll get it to you, within the same day. If you need it rushed, they'll get it to you within 20 minutes. Just put in the caption "rush," and Sammy will send it right to you. And we have in-house legal counsel. So if your clients have any questions, make sure you direct them to our company. We're the most prepared to answer those questions for them. Right? We created those forms and all that information. You don't want to try to play telephone and relay some information to your clients. If they have a question, have them call legal counsel. There's no charge for it, and they will make sure that they have everything answered that they need. Another new thing is, and I'll say it because I'm pretty honest, it's fluff, but we added the flood certificate. So before, we never had the flood certificate. We basically told you if you were in the flood zone or not in the flood zone, which determined whether you needed flood insurance or not, right? That basic information is still there. That's what's most important. But a lot of people like the fluff. They like it that it says certificate. Certificate really doesn't mean anything. You're going to see whether you're in or out of the zone.
Is legal counsel info on the website? Or
yes. Yep. And anytime too, if you want to set up a meeting with them, a conference call with your clients, you can even call me and say, hey, I need to set it up. This is the time they're available, and I'll get it all taken care of for you. And I left some cards back there and some paper masks if you need anything. Yes.
No. I just wanted to make sure I got a card.
Yeah, I left a whole bunch up there for you. Any questions? I don't want to take up your whole meeting and bore you to death. Sorry, Zoom. No questions? Okay, so remember, TDS NHD, required by law. Make sure you get your NHD directly from the company, not through title and escrow. That way your in-house, which we want to support, gets credit for that. And it makes it easier to track for you guys as well. Order it for any prospective buyer, and you're all taken care of from that. Okay, make sure you understand that there are differences between NHD companies. We're not regulated, so really important you do a little bit of due diligence and find out what company is going to give you the most and complete accurate. We've been in business for, I know John and John know Mr. Seidemann, for about 46 years now. So we've stood.
Pretty much invented it, didn't he?
Yes, yeah, and we've stood the test of time. So you don't want to just pick up the new shiny penny that's out there because they might not be around in a few years.
I want to hit on.
And it's so good to see you guys. The small things make me happy now.
Yeah, there's a lot of NHD companies out there. We feel that we're best protected with property ID. And for people like Dominic, you pretty much have the say-so when you have the seller. Because your seller pays for it, you can direct it to them with not a whole lot of obstacles. When the buyer has it, I mean, we've been over a million times what to do. I don't want to fight too hard and lose a transaction over an NHD. It's just a chance we may have to take getting a cheap one, but we can always definitely push for them, and we just feel more comfortable with them. All the reps are so nice. They come in here and I feel bad, but again, as a company, you need to look at you as yourself. We just feel that we're best protected with them. Marcia's looked at them, and we've used them for many, many, many years. Know the owner personally, and when I researched him, what I got out of it, he pretty much came up with this thing, right?
Yeah, he's the founder.
He's the founder, so.
We call him Father NHD.
He's a really cool guy. He reminds me of the Dos Equis man. But anyway.
I mean, the world's most interesting man.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Only he's cooler than the Dos Equis guy. I like Carlos. Yeah, do you want to go over some numbers or something? Or improvements? Okay.
How about Marcia and Vince?
Marcia, do you have something? That'd be great. We have a lot of time.
Marcia's gonna cause me to lose sleep.
A couple of things relating back to NHDs. I see on every file, and to be honest with you, when I'm looking at a file, I usually don't even know whose it is. I just click on and go down and look at the file to see what I need to see. And most of the time, I see that nowadays people are leaving the line for an NHD blank. They check the box and say that the seller is going to pay for it, but they don't put in a company name. And we actually, John, are still getting a lot of those SNAP. And I know that if somebody else is ordering it, that's one thing, but we could probably get less of those SNAP reports if people would just write in property ID. And you might check with SkySlope about how they process those, because if you click on order an NHD in SkySlope, it already has everything that's there because you've input it in as you fill out SkySlope. Right at the time you get that little box to check NHD, you click that and choose property ID, and that's all you have to do. And if
then they'll get the report.
they send it directly to you,
Oh, okay.
yes. And they'll send it to escrow too, because you also have that in your contact information. I mean, it's one-stop shopping.
I attach mine to my MLS. Like, here's the
That's a
attachments.
great idea. And I think now that's probably starting to happen more and more, but I mean, that really has not been the trend to have that ordered when you have a listing. And I mean, I think it's a really good idea. I think the more information. And then I even had, I represented the buyer, but the seller had even the TDS attached, which I thought, and that was interesting.
I think the thinking documents you need to have, like NHD, TDS, and SPQ, then what's their dispute? Right?
Exactly.
After you made your offer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
And the SBSA we've used in court, and that has saved us in conjunction with those other things. That SBSA is very important too. The one thing that I might mention this morning, I had a long discussion with Mitz about it last night, and he suggested that maybe I should mention it. You know, we don't chase the FERPTA thing anymore because we're supposed to get the QS from escrow, and they take care of sending any California withholding. And I think that they're really good about sending the California withholding. But I closed an escrow yesterday that had a foreign investor, and we've had title companies here before say, whatever the seller signs on the form that they give them, that's what they go with. Well, if that foreign investor has maybe not told the whole truth or didn't understand the truth and says that that was their personal residence when it wasn't or something, and they sign it, that's their sworn affidavit. But how is the IRS, how is an attorney, how is anybody else going to be able to chase that seller? Because we have no jurisdiction outside of our country, I don't think, for something like that. I could be wrong. So I say, and you have to make up your own mind and talk to John Jr. and John Sr. about this, but if I feel like that QS has wrong information, I would challenge it, because ultimately, if the IRS feels that that money is due, they're going to go after the buyer, irregardless of what those things say. They're going after the buyer. So I would just make sure that they look pretty accurate to you, and if they don't, challenge it. So that's all I have.